some longer. It truly is the most efficient podcast setup you could ever have.
Oh, for sure.
All right, I'm ready when you are.
Sweet. Let's do it. Okay, we are here. We don't even have an intro. We don't even have a specific song yet.
But we do have, however.
Yeah, we do represent the theme parks here. He's got his universal Starbucks mug. He's really proud of it if you can't tell from the camera.
Soon to be Explore Orlando merch. Just rebranded.
Exactly. But anyways, welcome to our very first.
He's like, please don't plug our Explore Orlando merch yet. It's our first fucking episode.
We haven't even done the intro. Anyways, welcome to our very first episode of the Explore Orlando podcast. Here on the Explore Orlando pages, we cover the theme parks of Orlando, obviously. Believe it or not, we cover mostly Orlando on the Explore Orlando page.
Yeah.
So that means the Universal parks, the Disney parks, but not just the theme parks, guys. We're going to be talking about local Orlando areas you're going to want to explore, restaurants, places to visit. So just so you're aware, we will be covering all of Orlando, not just the theme parks. We just obviously will have a lot of focus on the theme parks.
Yeah, no doubt. Exciting times, though, isn't it? Sorry, I don't hate to disrupt your train of thought there, but this is so much fun. We've talked about doing a podcast and launching the pages and just everything that we're trying to do within the last month and a half has been pretty awesome. I mean, where we sit right now, you've grown a page to almost, 1,500 followers, almost, right?
Yeah, we're getting close to our first 1,500 followers on our TikTok page. Been doing some live streams, starting to work on YouTube. You've been building out the website.
Yeah.
We have new merchandise. It's all happening very fast. Really, Brian and myself, Jared, we're both very passionate about the theme parks, and we've thought about content creation. I've worked for different, media sites in the past that cover the Disney parks, and I know Brian has as well, and we just felt like let's put our heads together and create something unique, and with all of this talent and ability, we might as well cover these parks full time. I mean, I'm very fortunate. I live 5 minutes from Universal Studios. You live 45 minutes away. So we're at a situation where this is a great time in our life to try to jump into something like this. So.
Right. And although we want this podcast to be informative for our audience and for you watching, it is important to put that context, it being our first episode ever. But I do want to feed off of that and say we just really enjoy going to the parks. From a young age I did, right? And even into, as I got older into my 20s, my current wife and I loved running over there. And now having a little one, we're only going to be at Disney even more now. But yeah, no, for sure. We both had a very similar background in terms of creating content. For myself, it was a larger DMO for a while, or destination marketing agency out of Orlando. And actually working for one of the parks for a little bit, creating marketing content for them. So all of this just makes sense. The passion's there, and we're having fun doing this. And I think that's why we're just, again, a month and a half in, crushing TikTok, putting a bunch of posts out, making this podcast when really there is no audience. We're just having fun, and hopefully anybody that watches this in the future can see the passion and see the shared passion for what we have in terms of thoughts for Orlando.
Yeah, I hope, years from now, people see this first original episode of the Explore Orlando podcast and go, wow, they've come a long way.
Right.
That's the idea, right? We really have just jumped right into this. Ideally, down the line, our podcast will have, beautiful intros and outros and logos and music and ad placements and all these things. It'll be as professional as they come, but Brian especially shares a philosophy that I'm sort of coming around to as well, which is you got to just start. You got to jump into things. And that's really, we talked about maybe starting our own theme park-based pages for a little bit, and we finally were just like, let's just jump in. Let's just do it together. We'll see what happens. And we're now a few months into this, and it's growing, and we're having a blast. So that's really going to be the basis of our intro. We'll talk about something now.
Sure. Enough about us.
These people are listening for more interesting things than us. Trust me. But either way, welcome to the Explore Orlando podcast, where we cover all things from Orlando, attractions, food, news, all things Orlando, plus a lot of theme parks, and helping you explore this great city and get the most out of your Orlando vacations. Wow, I really should write that down. That was a good one.
I'm telling you, every time you say it, this is like a perfect kind of elevator pitch. I don't even know if it needs to be written in stone. We'll just refer to that voiceover every time.
Yeah, I think that's going to be like, that little snippet that I just said, I don't know where that all came from, but some part of my brain decided to start working. All right, so we're going to talk about Epic Universe. This is our first episode, but Epic Universe just recently got announced to be fully opening on May 22nd. They released ticket sales. They released, of course, the first room rates and information on the hotel with Grand Helios. Yeah. We now know everything about this theme park, the 5 different lands. We know when you and I are even going. Yeah. We have tickets officially. Universal did announce and release those allotted tickets essentially for Universal annual pass holders could get one-day access to Epic Universe. Eventually, Epic Universe will release annual passes. They'll have their own, sort of tickets where we can go all the time. But they got to handle some crowd control at the beginning.
Right. When do you think I think that's a good question there is when, especially for annual pass holders listening, when do you think there is going to be a time to implement that into the annual pass? Is that going to be a year, do you think? Maybe 2 years? Or will it ever be implemented into the annual pass program?
I hope so. I mean, that wouldn't make sense at all if they were just like, nope, you got to buy one-day tickets every single time. I mean, that's ultimate nickel and diming. I hope they don't stoop to that. But I will say this. I do think it's actually going to be sooner than people think. So I think people will be able to go to Epic Universe with their annual pass and get the annual pass add-on by fall or winter of 2025. I think it's going to be within the first 6 to 8 months. The reason I say that is they're smart to launch it in May. You got the whole summer. Everybody's off. Everybody's going to be visiting. Next summer, I mean, literally that theme park's going to be just full constantly. That also gives them months to narrow out the kinks, everything like that. By the time the fall and the holiday season comes around, you're going to have that huge influx of people who are coming to Orlando to go to HHN. They're no longer focused as much on Epic. They're now focused more on HHN.
Good point.
So now you got more of crowd control where they can actually be like, okay, you know what? Now I can release those annual passes and people can visit whenever. Now that we have our kinks out with the rides, we've got that all sorted out. Now that, I don't know. That's my prediction, but it's hard to say. I'm just excited to visit Epic Universe whenever I want.
Yeah, gosh, same. It's going to be so awesome. I mean, every time I talk about it, I'm like, it's going to be so epic. And clearly, that's
it's a paid ad.
Yeah, right. It's a good name to name a theme park, Epic Universe, because it literally is epic. I will say, I think you did talk about. I think you introduced a little bit there. The Grand Helios Hotel?
Yep.
That hotel looks incredible.
Yeah. Oh, it's going to be so amazing. So for those of you who don't know about this is the new hotel that is going to be literally have its own entrance, essentially be connected to Epic Universe. And it'll have its own entrance into the theme park, which really we haven't really seen from too many hotels worldwide.
Right.
There's not many hotels that are actually connected. The one that always comes to mind for me is Grand Californian out in Disneyland does have its own separate entrance into Disneyland. I've stayed there before. Very, very cool.
Didn't know that.
You feel like you have your own VIP little side entrance into the park. So having that, but also having the theme park views. Obviously, they'll have nighttime shows and stuff over at Epic, so you can catch fireworks from your room and you can just see the roller coasters. I mean, there's going to be a rooftop bar.
Rooftop bar sounds incredible.
Yeah, that's what we care about.
Yeah. For real, though. Doesn't that sound awesome? Right. Even if you did, of course, yes, we love to hit the parks and have a drink or two. There's no doubt about it. But even if you weren't, into, drinking alcohol or anything, that view from that rooftop bar is probably going to be incredible.
Yeah, they're going to have to drag me away. The National Guard is going to have to come in to get me. It's funny, actually. That rooftop bar, I think, is going to become probably one of the most popular, not just theme park bars, but bars in Orlando. And
I totally agree.
Because of that, I do think at the beginning they're going to implement, reservations and also 90-minute limits, things like that.
Yeah, that's a good point.
For people like us.
Yeah, I was about to say, when you said they're having to drag you out of there, they're going to literally probably give you like a 30-minute pass or something of that nature.
Yeah, and maybe like the hotel guests will get a 60-minute pass or something
true.
like that. Like they'll implement something like that. I don't know. I mean, I think about Trader Sam's over at Disney's Polynesian, a super, super popular theme park bar. They have a virtual queue every day. They have a line out the door every day. I've been there before where they're like, nope, we're not even accepting new walk-ins.
Yeah.
It's crazy. And that bar is small, yes, but it's very popular. And this is going to be like 10 times that when it comes to like how many people are going to want to sit there, have a drink, even if you're not drinking alcohol. You can have a mocktail
100%.
and just look out at theme park.
100%.
I mean,
yeah.
Where else can you do that?
100%. Especially when you have that bird's eye view. I mean, I imagine you're going to be able to see every land in Epic Universe from that very spot. But yeah, aside from the rooftop bar, the hotel in general, I agree. The direct access, and honestly, you know, when they first released it, I thought in my head, oh, this is a Polynesian priced hotel or Grand Floridian price point, Four Seasons Orlando price point. So I thought it was $1,500 a night. And then they went on record saying it would be like $200 or $250 a night, which is incredible. Although we did look it up when we booked our Epic Universe pass to get that hotel room while we were there, and it was up around $500 or $600 if I remember correctly. But still, that's like half the cost of, you know, some of these other hotels, and it has direct access. So that's one thing I think Universal does a great job of, though. They do a good job of, like, they could very much charge a lot more, and people would probably pay for it. True. But they are very generous in a sense when it comes to that. In my opinion.
Yeah, no, I think it's fascinating that as the theme park wars are going to continue now between Universal and Disney, we are going to see, you know, back and forth with new lands, new parks, new hotels. Of course, Disney and Universal have always kind of done that, but now it's heightened to a level that I think is going to force Disney's hand a little bit. With Epic Universe opening, with these new hotels opening, it's going to create Universal Orlando is essentially going to become now a week-long destination.
Yes.
You have to stay for a week,
Yeah.
which is always what Walt Disney World was.
Yeah.
So now Universal can use that coin, and all of a sudden they're like, okay, well, Disney used to get so many guests, right, that would go to Disney for like 5-6 days and only go to Universal for like 1 or 2.
Yeah.
Because you can get everything done at Universal in 1 or 2 days.
Right.
It's no longer the case. Now, if you really like the Universal stuff they're doing, now you might be like, well, let's not do Disney this trip.
Wow.
Let's go do a week at Universal.
Isn't that something to think about?
Which is a little, it's got to put Disney a little bit on their heels. I'm not saying they're affected greatly.
Right. Right. When do you think is there a time in history where it's been, because you've always had the theme park wars in a sense, right?
Yep.
You're competing businesses. Although Universal, you know, their demographic's a little bit older, typically in terms of families coming here. Has there been a time in the past where you would go, wow, because I would see this coming into the summer of 2025 is probably going to be the heat of this new era of theme park wars, in my opinion. Because like you said, behind Thunder Mountain, you've got, at least for Magic Kingdom, a whole new world being built there. They've got X, Y, and Z that they're doing. Again, I'll repeat my question here. Do you think there's a time in the past that the theme park wars have been at the highest, and are we going into that era of new theme park wars?
Yeah, so this has got to be the highest the theme park battle between Universal and Disney has ever been, and probably ever will be. And that's kind of, look, it's not an accident why at D23 Disney announced all of these different land expansions and things like that. The main question that a lot of big Disney fans like myself are wondering is, like, are they too late? Like, a lot of these announcements are going to take years for them to actually open. But in Disney's point of view, they've released and announced so many different new things over the years, especially the last 5-6 years, that they feel like that has already been in preparation to battle against Epic Universe.
Right. But even in those senses, and correct me if I'm wrong, I know you know Disney a little bit stronger than I do, but that was also, in my opinion, still a retaliation based off of Harry Potter land.
Yep.
So it was still Star Wars and Pandora or Avatar.
True.
Those were all after that. It's almost like an answer, which is wild to me because Disney's always been they've always been the first, the leader in a sense.
For the longest time, Universal would wait for Disney to make a move, and then Universal would be the follower. That's
Right.
kind of shifting a little bit right now,
Right.
which is interesting. And again, I don't know. I think Disney is just so used to we have 20 plus hotels. We have 2 water parks, 4 theme parks, Disney Springs. We have so much here
Right.
that we're not worried about the little guy.
Right.
But now the little guy is not becoming so little.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
now it's going to be really fascinating to see. I really want to see how crowd levels at Disney are next May, June, July when Epic is going on. Because don't be surprised if things are awfully low and everyone's thinking about Epic Universe. If that happens, that might force Disney's hand to say, let's fast track some of these projects we're working. Let's get these out a little bit sooner than we planned on. We need to respond and respond fast.
Right. No, I hear you. And it'll be interesting too, again, from a marketing standpoint, if they focus on their demos, right? There is a great amount of people like us that enjoy going over there. We're local, we want to go and enjoy Disney. But I would imagine for the vast majority of people that go there, they're going to bring their kids or whatever that demo is. So it's like, it's almost they're going to have to decide if they need to double down on that because little kids aren't going to Epic Universe.
That's the interesting thing though, Brian, is I think that actually will be more of the case. They have Isle of Berk, which is going to be a really spectacular How to Train Your Dragon theme land that is more centered towards kids. You are going to have Nintendo World, which will be several different things for kids. And there's a massive fandom for Nintendo around the globe. So I'm really interested to see actually how many kids and families are visiting those lands, because if those lands become huge hits, that could be a huge deal, because all of a sudden now families can be like, actually, there is quite a bit of things where we can bring our kids and for them to do. How to Train Your Dragon is a huge fan base, and there's a huge fandom there. So between the amount of kids that love those films, the amount of adults that grew up now watching those films, they have a live action film coming out next year, by the way. I don't know if you knew that.
No.
So I actually think there's going to be more kids than we think and more families than we think visiting Epic Universe. So.
Interesting. Yeah. No, that's a good point to make, because in my mind, again, I just think Epic Universe, I think these roller coasters, even Donkey Kong, Nintendo, the Mario Kart. I don't know how. I just imagine in my head, how tall do you have to be to ride these rides?
Yeah.
That's only the thing that registers. So when I think Epic Universe, I think like, how old do you have to be to really go there, and for a family to really spend money rather than going to Disney World.
Yeah.
So I guess that was kind of like my thought process behind that statement. But, and again, that's the reason I bring that up, is if Disney knows what that is, that height of when they push over, then they need to be doubling down on, their roller coasters that, a little bit youngsters can ride.
That's a good point.
But I don't know. Even that, with that being said, you have awesome roller coasters at Disney, and then even I feel like Universal almost prepped for that too, in a sense. I feel like Universal Studios Florida, not like Universal Florida entirely. Like that park is really, you've got Rip Ride Rocket, Mummy, and then like Harry Potter is kind of a roller coaster, but really that place is for younger kids. There's not really that many roller coasters, like thrill rides at that park.
Yeah,
it's almost intentional.
I think they're shifting things to appeal to now the family and everybody, which is great. I love that. I love that they are doing more of that, because look, I mean, you have DreamWorks Land. That's a whole kids area, which I think is great. I think it was a little rushed. I think it could have been more well done, but they wanted to get it out, which is great. I do think it's for the whole family. And then on top of that, you good?
Yeah. Sorry, just giving Jared a time limit here, so we know when. Because I don't know if you can see. I think we're at almost 20 seconds there. So I was going to put a little timer on just so we know.
20 minutes?
We're at 20 minutes.
Okay, cool. You said 20 seconds, so I got really.
Oh, I'm sorry. Too many things going on at once here.
Yeah. No, I hear you. All right, let's jump right back in. So, when it comes to like DreamWorks Land, for example, you have this entire land that was, of course, created more for the family, for the kids. You have meet and greets, you have the roller coaster, you have a whole splash pad area. That is a great example of Universal being like, you know what, we should do more stuff for kids. Yeah. And then, of course, you have Minion Land, which is now another recent that opened last year, another recent entire land that is dedicated more for kids. So you're right, Universal Studios Florida is leaning more into that. And I think it's super important for them to do so. And I think the next domino to fall with the Universal parks after Epic Universe opens, because that's where their attention is right now, is you're going to see Islands of Adventure actually get some major updates.
I think you're right.
Yeah, I think some of those lands are going to be transformed into more family. Not that they're not right now. I'm not saying Dr. Seuss Land isn't for family, because there's like 4 rides in there for kids, which is great. But they could update it to properties that are more relevant now. You have
a more modern approach.
Yeah, you have the Lost Continent, an entire huge land area over there that's really not utilized. There's no attractions in there now that Poseidon's Fury is gone.
Yeah.
You have an entire piece of land. What if you made that entire section Madagascar land? You could have a few rides for kids, and all of a sudden, the more Universal does that, the more you're going to almost really combat Disney, in the sense where you now have these Universal kids things to do, which I think is awesome.
Yeah. You saying a little bit of a strong segue here, but in the same stroke of conversation, the Poseidon's Fury area. Yeah. I wish they would integrate something new into that, because I just like the theming of it so much. Same. I'd hate to see it gone completely.
Same.
But that area is really, really cool. Yeah.
It is. And I think that it could be just revamped a little bit. Create a new ride, a new original ride that's based off of the Greek gods and those mythical creatures and stuff. Yeah. Like, replace Poseidon's Fury with a new ride, and boom, you still have a bunch of people interested in going back there.
100%. Have you ever eaten the restaurant there?
Yeah, they've had the same sign out since like 2006 that says
it's like the
best restaurant.
It really has. I don't know if I can ever recall going there. In all these years that I've gone, that sign wasn't there.
No, it's been there forever. They had one theme park publication post that Mythos, that's the name of it, by the way, that Mythos is the best theme park restaurant in the world, and they've just never taken it down.
And it doesn't look like it's worn. It doesn't look like the sun or any weather's gotten. Either they replace it on a weekly basis, or they just it just looks like it's a fresh banner every time.
Yeah, no, it is kind of funny. But no, so with our last few minutes here, Brian, we'll do many more episodes on Epic Universe, obviously. We're going to dive much deeper into so many things with the theme parks, and of course, all things Orlando. But what excites you the most about Epic Universe? Like, what gets you the most excited to see? And I know it's easy for us to just be like, sitting at the rooftop bar at Grand Helios and having 12 espresso martinis and staring at the roller coasters.
Yeah, you actually did read my mind in that sense, because I was about to say I actually already talked about it. Yeah. No.
How many times do I have to repeat myself?
Yeah, right. No, I would say Donkey Kong, the ride. I just really, really appreciate. I don't think most people do appreciate like innovation in terms of ride tech. And that feeling of, in Donkey Kong, just for the record too, for those of you who don't know, there should be a part of the ride where it feels like you're actually, like the track is broken and that you're actually ramping the track. Yeah. So that feeling of like, whoa, has to be, that'll be an experience for sure. And then what especially being a 90s kid and growing up with Dueling Dragons, I will really greatly appreciate what is it, Starlight Racers? Is that what? Yeah. So Starlight, is it Starlight Racers?
I think it is. The name changed. It was something else, and then they had a rights issue, so they had to change the name. Okay. So now I'm missing out.
So if we're butchering that, any rate, if you look it up, dual racing coasters at Epic Universe, you're going to see what we're talking about, and it essentially is that. It's 2 roller coasters. Racing through the tracks. They go next to each other. They flip next to each other. Very similar to how Dueling Dragons used to be back in the day, which was one of my favorite rides. So That's probably what I'm looking forward to most.
And I never went to Universal as a kid. I don't think you even know this about me. I started going to Universal in 2019 when I was in my mid-20s.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So I've quickly become more of an expert on those parks. But I will say this.
That makes sense because you grew up Disney though.
Yeah.
So that makes sense why you know so much Disney knowledge.
Yeah. And now I like to go to both. I have annual passes to both. But what I was going to say is I never got to experience the Dueling Dragons coaster, so I'm super excited for that coaster.
Really?
Yeah.
That is a fun fact. I did not know that. So you actually never had, because, it would have shut down around 2018 probably.
Yeah, I was always pissed because I love Jaws and Back to the Future. I never got to experience all those things.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sad about that.
Yeah. Yeah, those were so long ago. Honestly, even for me, it's hard to remember, but...
Yeah. No,
at any rate, I did want to follow up with you too. I know we've got a couple more minutes here, but what are you most looking forward to for Epic Universe?
It's funny. I've never been a huge horror fan, never been a huge, into Universal monsters, Frankenstein, and all those classic Wolfman. But I am very excited for Dark Universe. I think that's probably the thing I'm most excited for. They have a tavern called the Burning Mill Tavern.
Yeah.
And the windmill is going to be lit on fire.
Wow.
And spinning. And you can have drinks in an old horror-esque
that's pretty
tavern.
cool.
That's going to be one of the coolest theme park bars on the planet, first of all, which I'm a huge fan of those, obviously. But also, I just think the animatronics they have going on back there for the actual dark ride looks so incredible. I mean, we're possibly going to be talking about this as one of the best theme park lands in the world.
Yeah.
And I think that's pretty incredible.
No doubt. I'm looking forward to it. And we are not that far out. You're talking almost 6 months, dude.
Yeah.
That's pretty awesome.
I know. But anyways, thank you so much to everybody who may have tuned in. If we got 2 viewers, thank you to both of you.
So thank you, Molly and Morgan.
Yeah, thank you to our wives. But no, seriously, this has been a lot of fun. We also obviously have many, many more episodes to come.
Yep.
The idea for this podcast is to hopefully be releasing episodes weekly, but do bear with us. We're trying to get our bearings. This is our first episode, of course. But if you're new to our pages, definitely go check us out on social media. We are obviously biggest on TikTok. We mentioned that earlier, but we post theme park videos every single day to get you to miss Orlando. Want to visit these parks on TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and we do live streams on TikTok as well. And then more than all that, if you want to go head to our website, you can actually visit our website at orlandoexplore.com to check out some of our theme park inspired designs, merchandise, things of that nature, read some blog articles, and just, get to know us a little bit. We're so excited to be here.
Yeah, no, 100%. Couldn't have said that better. Look forward to doing more of this. And again, if you have shared passion for visiting Orlando, whether it be the theme parks or anything around the theme parks, give us a follow. Hopefully we can give you some nostalgia from time to time and some new informative stuff with things coming up. So excited to keep this going. Good first pod. Look forward to many more.
Here's many more. All right.
All righty.